Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. Good evening, Pliny, Enrique. Welcome to the class. I'm starting in a couple of minutes. Until the other students are coming, good evening. Good evening. I'm doing well. I'm doing well, thank you. What about you? I'm doing well. Yeah. I do too, Pliny, I do too. I remember your group. How was everything, Pliny, Enrique? How was the work? What about you? How was everything? I was teaching, well, at the school, but in a private institute, so my schedules are a little difficult, but now I have enough time to continue with this training. Yeah. Okay. Let's start in 2 minutes. Where do you live, Enrique and Plinio? Where do you live? Currently, where do you live? Good evening, Enrique. Good evening. Juliaca. Great. Perfect. You, Enrique, what about you? Moquegua. Great. Yeah, high school. Plinio, I understand. Yeah, great. Perfect. Okay, I hope that the other students are coming, are joining this virtual class. Okay, let's wait only a minute, then let's start. Great. So, okay, Plinio says, I teach in another place. Great. Okay, let's start because the time is that time, so it's important to start on time. So let's start. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Please confirm me in the chat if you can hear me. Yeah. Okay, if you have any questions about this class, you can ask me. Okay, so this is the first class for today. Is this your first class or do you have other classes apart from me? Is this your first class? Okay, great. No. Okay, so let's start. It's like the first class for me because it's for me, it's a new course. It's a new course. Okay. Great. Let's continue. Let's continue. So this is the first class, fundamental methodologies of communicative teaching, fundamental methodologies. Methodologies are very important because if you can manage what methodology are using according to the curriculum, to this currently curriculum, you can select the best options in your next exam, in your next nomination exam. So it's important that you as a teacher manage methodologies. What methodologies are using in our Peruvian curriculum? What type of methodologies we are using, right? So it's important that you can manage this type of methodologies. So let's go to the next. Let me a second. Okay, you know me. This is an old picture. This is me. Okay, you know me a little. I'm 𝗘𝗦𝗖𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗢, your English teacher for this training course. This is my email if you have any questions about the nomination exam. Maybe if you want extra material to reinforce your learnings, you can ask me, you can write to this email. This is my email, @gmail.com. So, well, I'm a licensate in education with mention in English by Villarreal University. Also, I currently graduated in management and educational policies at San Martin de Porres University. I studied my master there. So this is something about me. Recommendations, let me a second. Recommendations during this workshop. Turn off your microphone, raise your hand to participate. Share your experience and opinions with others. Right? Okay. Let's go. Vamos a explicar un poquito la evaluación. Ya creo que ustedes más o menos, a ver, creo que solamente está Enrique, pero esta clase va a quedar grabada igual. Entonces quiero explicar un poquito la evaluación. La evaluación ha variado un poco, ha tenido una variación en el modelo de evaluación, ¿no? Entonces antes había comprensión lectora, como ustedes saben, razonamiento lógico, conocimientos pedagógicos, pero ahora solamente hay dos, ¿no? Dos subpruebas. Una es de habilidades generales y otros de conocimientos pedagógicos y curriculares de la especialidad. Entonces, estas son las dos subpruebas. Habilidades generales, 25 preguntas. Conocimientos pedagógicos, 50 preguntas. Entonces, esas son las dos subpruebas. Y ahora se les pide, pues, hay más cantidad de preguntas en conocimientos pedagógicos de la especialidad. Entonces, hay más. Antes, pues, a veces había algunas quejas de que a veces los profesores no aprobaban comprensión lectora o razonamiento lógico, y eso hacía, pues, de que quizás no puedan ir al siguiente paso, ¿no? Pero ahora la prueba de habilidades generales no va a tener puntaje mínimo, o sea, así jales acá o no hagas mucho puntaje acá, no hay un puntaje mínimo requerido como antes lo había, ¿no? Entonces, ahora sí te piden en conocimientos pedagógicos, pues que hagas 84 puntos, ¿sí? Entonces, eso es lo que te piden, y eso es lo que un poquito de la variación de este nuevo examen, Hasta aquí. Entonces, esto es un poquito la variación. ¿Hasta aquí hay alguna consulta, Enrique, que tengas? ¿Alguna consulta? Eso es lo que ahorita, pues, nos han informado en la evaluación de nombramiento, ¿sí? Y me imagino, pues acá dice solo 2 puntos de corte. Dice, los docentes deben superar el puntaje mínimo en la subprueba de conocimientos pedagógicos del 55%, ¿cierto? Y lograr al menos 110 puntos en la sumatoria de las de las subpruebas. O sea, tienes que lograr 110 puntos como mínimo. Entonces, la idea es que puedan estar bien preparados todos. ¿Ok? Entonces vamos a ver. A ver, vamos a continuar. A ver, let's continue. Okay. Okay, let's go. Here we have a question for you. What type of methodology do you apply in your classes? What type of methodology do you apply in your classes? Enrique. Methodology. When I talk this, when I have this word, methodology, what type of methodologies do you apply in your classes? A ver, please. Well, tell me, give me some ideas, Enrique. Okay, any ideas? It can be, for example, can be problem-based learning, right? You remember problem-based learning. Other methodology, a communicative approach, right? So let's talk about methodologies. Let's hear. Okay, this is the first. When I talk about methodology, it's important to remember, yes, Enrique say project-based learning. Yes. Okay, in the curriculum, in our curriculum, mention some methodologies that are included in our curriculum. And when you are in the exam, it's important that you consider these methodologies because if you can manage and remember these methodologies, you can select the best option in your exam. So it's important to have a knowledge of these methodologies. The first is task-based learning. Task-based learning. In what consists? Is when you select a small task through other tasks in your lesson. So maybe you are talking about routines. Maybe you at the beginning you say list what routines do you do every day from Monday to Friday. Probably make a list in pairs. Make a list in pairs with a partner of some routines that you probably do from Monday to Friday, and you are listing. After that, I need that you can match these routines with complements. So in what consists this? Here we have, it's a teaching approach which focuses on students by asking to do meaningful activities or tasks. These tasks can be daily routines like buying a coffee, collecting a check, going to the doctor, among others. Okay, so the idea is that you can share with your students meaningful activities, real activities, right? So here I'm going to share some meaningful activities. It can be, for example, listing through brainstorming, finding. Probably here we have some examples, a party list, memory challenge, qualities for a job. So probably you are talking about comparatives, superlatives. So you can start with adjectives, right? And you say, what are the best qualities for this job? No, you can write 5 professions on the board, and you can ask your students to write what are the qualities for this type of job or positions. So probably mention punctuality, responsibility, goal-oriented, and the students start to list, right? Okay, other tasks can be ordering and sorting, right? Best way to do something. Ordering and sorting, you can select, maybe you can talk about food. What are the steps or for a receipt, right? Comparing, finding similarities, differences, right? Listening to TV programs. Other ideas of meaningful tasks, problem solving, giving advice, planning, responding to an advice, planning a dinner. How can you plan a dinner? So there are several meaningful activities that you can apply using the task-based learning. But the idea is that you can select meaningful activities through another, right? So the idea of this methodology is that you can select a good task, interesting task, meaningful task. Okay, so you can use also this type of task, discovery, finding something, learning about pyramids, right? So welcome, Lady and Plinio again. So tell me about Lady Olano. Okay, this is a question. What type of methodology do you apply in your classes? Can you tell me, please, what type of methodology do you apply in your classes? I was talking about task-based learning, el aprendizaje basado en tareas, task-based learning. Okay. Can you give me your ideas? What type of methodology do you apply in your classes? Let me, Sheila Morris. Okay, task-based learning, task-based learning. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next. The next methodology, this is task-based learning. Here we have, I explained before this, some meaningful activities that you can probably do in your class, right? Okay, great. Perfect. Let's go. Okay, another methodology that it's right now the curriculum is trying to promote is blending learning. Probably we are using this methodology because in our schools you probably have a WhatsApp group and you have face-to-face classes too. In this type of methodology, you combine face-to-face classes through, also you can use face-to-face classes and virtual classes too, right? So this is the blended. When you can mix these two spaces, you can mix the media, activities, events online, and also face-to-face classes, right? You combine, you can use good ways. Probably maybe you are using a platform in your classes, Duolingo or Google Classroom. Are you using something virtual in your classes, a platform or something like this? Yeah, it's in a, okay. Jet School, yeah. Are you using, in these months, teachers, are you using platforms or Google Classroom in your lessons? Are you using right now? Give me your ideas, please. Okay, but in this type of methodology, we use that technology, but also use the technology like a support to your lessons. Okay? Right? Hello, 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 lady. Welcome again, lady. Rosa, Lelil, Sheila, welcome everybody. Welcome to this class. Welcome. Welcome. So I was explaining the first part. I'm going to mention again my presentation. I'm going to find. Okay, and Carla Tesana. Yeah. Lady says, in my school, I'm working with, well, meaningful situations using learning projects. Great, lady, perfect. So, yeah, many schools, public schools are using projects as an instrument, as a methodology to reinforce their lessons, right? So my name is Carla Tesana. And here, well, in this opportunity, I'm working with you, again, with some of you, so welcome to this training course. If you know me, well, some of you know me. You can find me at @gmail.com, right? So let's go. I was talking about methodologies. I'm talking about methodologies. It's important to remember methodologies, because if you manage what methodologies are using in our curriculum, you can select better the best options, right? Okay, so this is a blended methodology. Okay, the next, collaborative learning. Collaborative learning is the key of this methodology is that students can learn through social activities. Collaborative learning is based on the idea that learning is a naturally social act in which the participants talk among themselves. So the core of this methodology is that students can learn better with social activities, through social activities like conversations, dramas, interaction, group work, right? It's true that told that learning occurs. So this is collaborative learning. So here we have some ideas that you can use in your classes, pair or group discussions, completing shared tasks in a pair or group, activities or games with a competitive element, right? Drama and role play. Information exchange activities, right? This is collaborative way. Okay. Let's go to the next, content. This methodology is mentioned on the previous exams, on the exams of 2018. Content. In what consists? El aprendizaje basado en contenidos. Content. In what consists? Is when you combine English, you combine English with other subjects at the same time. It's English through the curriculum. If you can notice, Aprendo en Casa methodology use content-based learning because mix English through other subjects like technology, social, communication, right? So here we have building background, help students the foundational knowledge they have about the topic and connect their personal experiences to the topic of the upcoming lesson. And I have a diagram here. This is the topic and the content-based learning, el aprendizaje basado en contenidos. Okay, this methodology makes English with other subjects. It's English in the curriculum through other subjects like science, technology, physical education, arts, language, math, right? And in our curriculum uses this methodology. This is content. It integrates the learning of language with the learning of some other contents. Obviously, academic subject matter, right? Language across the curriculum to integrate the teaching of reading and writing into all other subject areas. So integrate English with other areas, right? With other subjects. The other, we have also here we have a lesson, an art lesson, right? Based on content-based learning, right? Let's go to the other methodology: presentation, practice, production. This is an obsolete. It's an old methodology, but in the exams, in the previous exams, there are some questions related to this methodology, right? Because you know the exams. Some exams says what methodology is not appropriate. The question, they are not only says what is the best methodology in this lesson. No, other questions can be which methodology is not appropriate in this lesson, and probably the answer can be this methodology: presentation, practice, production. This was an old methodology, but also is very useful, right? Here, no? The teacher introduces a situation and presents the target language, right? The students practice the target language with some exercises, right? The students use the target language and make sentences of their own. So only the students in this methodology, maybe you introduce the topic with some activities, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sentences about the topic. Then you can ask the students to complete some exercises, and then the students can continue practice with controlled activities. So in this methodology is focused on the teacher. It's focused on the teacher, not the students. The teacher presents the target language and then gives the students the opportunity to practice through very controlled activities, very controlled. So it's very only simple activities, simple exercises, probably to complete in the gap, to match, but they don't, you cannot activate your students skills. For example, curiosity or production or other skills, right? This is presentation, practice, production, right? It's very simple, but in this, the main characteristic of this methodology is that the teacher uses very controlled activities, right? Very controlled activities. Very controlled activities. El profesor utiliza actividades muy simples, ¿no? Y controladas, ¿no? Muy fáciles para que el alumno pueda avanzar. ¿Ok? Presentation, practice, production. Can be real that in our day-to-day work, probably you say, Miss, I use presentation, practice, production because my students, some of my students or some of my classrooms, they don't have a higher English. So I need to use control activities because my students, they don't have a high level. Yeah, I know, but in your exam, you have to select this methodology. Content-based learning. What methodologies are considered the best according to our curriculum? Content-based learning. The other is the collaborative, also the blended. Present practice production, no. For our curriculum, probably for you, Miss, a good methodology. I use this model for some of my lessons, but the curriculum, our Peruvian curriculum, consider obsolete, right? What for our curriculum, what methodologies are the best? For example, this problem-based learning. Problem-based learning. This methodology, for example, Aprende en Casa platform use this type of methodology. It's a teaching method in which complex real-world problems are used as a vehicle to promote students' learning. So you can in the problem-based learning, in your lesson, you choose a topic that can be a real-world problem. Can be, for example, bullying, poverty, corruption, lack of job, etc. A real problem, right? In this methodology, but the focus of this methodology is that the students can give solutions, real solutions according to their age. O sea, van a dar soluciones, pero como estudiantes, no como autoridades públicas, ¿no? Que es muy diferente. ¿Ok? Entonces, according to this curriculum, according to this methodology, the students give solutions, right, at the end. And if the students give solutions, you can promote some critical thinking skills, right? Problem-solving abilities and communication skills. So imagine that you are teaching, you are using this methodology, and the topic is, for example, bullying, and you explain, no? There are several types of bullying. They are, for example, physical bullying, etc. And you are explaining what type of bullying they are. And the homework is mention or create a poster against bullying, right? Write a slogan, etc. Include in it. So this is problem-based learning. It's a very nice methodology. It's real, right? Real world problems. And here we have a sequence. We have a sequence, it's introduction of a problem, discussion, okay, formulation of the solution, presenting the solution. Probably the solution can be that your students can create a poster, a newspaper, probably a PowerPoint or a dictico, etc. Okay, but this is the main characteristic, that at the end of this, at the end of the lesson or the lessons, the students create a solution of the problem. This is the main characteristic, that the students create a solution. You can use several topics, right? Violence against women, corruption, poverty, right? There are several topics that you can use, right? Are you using this methodology in your classes? Actually, teachers, are you using Aprende en Casa platform, or are you using your own materials, your own contents, your own curriculum in your lessons? Any volunteers? What are you using in your lessons? What type of methodologies are you using in your lessons? Any volunteer? Lady. Sheila says Aprende en Casa. So you are using problem-based learning. Yes. Good. Aprende en Casa. What about? Okay. Great. What about you? Okay, Enrique says problem-based learning too. It's interesting. This methodology is very nice because the lesson is real. It's real. When you are talking about bullying or poverty or traditions, no? Traditions in the jungle, in Lima, right? Technology. So they are real topics. And when you use real topics, the students, it's close to me. And the students are awake every moment. All right. We have project-based learning. Also, the project-based learning, it's a good, the curriculum, the Peruvian curriculum consider a good methodology. Okay, project-based learning, el aprendizaje basado en tareas, perdón, en proyectos, project-based learning. Okay, dice, it's an instructional methodology encouraging students to learn by applying knowledge and skills through an engaging experience. So the project, it's also a good methodology. So you can select, when you are selecting the topic, it's important that you can select a topic that is close to your students. Maybe you'll notice that your students like sports. Like, for example, I noticed that my students like sports. So probably you can introduce a project that involves sports, right? Okay, so you can, it's important that you can select an interesting topic, and according to this topic, then after that you can select that topic, create the groups, right? And then after that you create the groups, schedule the times that your students are going to present some activities or homework or task. Possible topics, choose your own adventure, story, or video. Here we have a healthy menu, a newspaper, infographics, walking tour guide, something that your students like, right? And here, yesterday I took a course about project-based learning, and in this, I capture this picture of my training course too. And here we have some steps, right? So for example, number one, select the topic, right? Maybe it's very important to select an interesting topic that is close to your students, to form groups, right? 3, to define what is the product. It's very important that you can define what can be the final product of your project. The quality of the project-based learning is that the students at the ending are going to present a product. What is a product? Probably a presentation, a newspaper, a menu. What is? So remember also that the project integrates other subjects too. Also, it's important the planning, organization, and planning of the activities, right? To define tasks and times is very important, right? Okay, the project is not, you know, that the project is not going to be in 2 weeks, no? Probably the project is at the end of the semester or the year. Maybe you can use only one project. At the end of the year, the students are going to show their projects, right? Okay, here we have number 5, when you are searching information, right? And also remember, it's important that here to share ideas, to debate the resolution of problems, decisions, right? And at the ending, the presentation of the project. And one other quality of project-based learning is that your project is going to be shown in public. In our case, in the school, right? In the school, but the projects are public, are not personal. It's important that you are going to public your students' project. Okay, have you ever used project-based learning, teachers? Have you ever used project-based learning? Give me your experiences. Have you ever used project-based learning? Sheila, Enrique, Plinio says not yet. Not yet. Sheila says not yet. I use a project that is very simple. I called, lady says, Lily says not yet. Okay, not yet. Lady says no. Rosa, what about you, Rosa? Have you ever used a project-based learning? No. Okay, I use, for example, a very simple, for me, simple, but I consider simple, but meaningful. Meaningful. Lo considero simple, pero significativo. I use this project at the end of the year, of the semester, with the 4th or 5th grade of secondary autobiography. This project, well, I'm going to give this project to my students. Writing what consists. Please say when are going to do the project. You can include in your lesson. I use at the end of almost at the end of the year. You can assign to your students in October, and the students can complete and integrate this project with their students, right? For example, I use this project, autobiography, and I ask my students to create a video, including to create a video called autobiography, and I give to them a schema, no? I say, no, I need that you can mention your personal information, right? To describe family members, to describe a famous person that you admire, to mention your routine, right? And describe your neighborhood. So these 5 points in this video, and I give some details about the project, and I have good results, right? So you can, in this type of methodology, you can select a topic that you can consider meaningful for your students. Maybe you can use a create healthy menu. So there are several topics that you can include. Over here we have some ideas. For example, create a healthy menu. You can use virtuality. Maybe there are, now you know that there are several websites that you can create, for example, infographics or dicticos online, no? Online. So the students can use these resources for their projects. Okay, this is project-based learning. What is the difference? What is the difference? Project-based learning, problem-based learning. The main difference is that the project create a product. Create a product at the ending. The project create a product. This product can be a video, can be a infographic, a newspaper, a product. They have a product. The problem-based learning gives solutions, create solutions. I have a metacognition, but the main is that create a solution to the problem, right? What are the both? They have real world connections. Real world connections, activate learning, self and peer assessment. Okay, students are the center of the learning. Okay, this is the difference, right? Okay, what type? Remember teachers that probably you say, no, I don't use these methodologies because I use translation, no? Translation methodology in my class because my students, they don't have a knowledge of English. But remember, okay, it's real. It's our real problem as a teachers. But in your exam, you have to select the methodologies that our curriculum consider, like project-based learning, task-based learning, content-based learning. The curriculum consider these three methodologies: problem, task, content-based learning, right? Presentation, practice, production, translation, they consider obsolete. Maybe you say, Miss, I use translation in my classes as a methodology because my students, they don't understand me, etc. But in your exam, don't select translation or don't select presentation, practice, production as the best methodology. Don't do that. Okay. Any questions, teachers? Any questions? What methodology do you consider, do you like best? What type of methodology do you like best, teachers? Give me your answers, please. Okay. Project-based learning or problem? What? Okay, problem-based learning. Okay, problem or project? Plinio says project. Project is very nice. It's very nice. Project. Okay. Okay. Let's talk. It's okay. Do you have questions about methodologies? Do you have questions? Apart from these methodologies, there are several, right? There are several types of methodology, but I consider this because the exams, the previous exams, there are some questions related to problem-based learning, task, content-based learning. So I consider these methodologies. Do you have questions about this topic? Any questions? Any questions? Or can we continue? Okay, let's go. Any questions, teachers? Okay, so quickly, let's review some principles of Peruvian education. What are the principles? Okay, so let's review some principles of Peruvian education according to the education law. Okay. According to the general education law, right? Peruvian education has a person. This is the rule, right? Peruvian education has a person as the center and fundamental agent of the educational process. It's based on 8 principles. Tiene 8 principios, ¿no? Entonces, como vemos acá, esta normativa, la Ley General de la Educación, la 28044, artículo 8, indica que el estudiante es el centro, el agente principal de la educación, del proceso educativo, y tiene 8 principios. Vamos a ver esos 8 principios rápidamente, ¿ok? Let's talk quickly. Okay, ethics. The principles are ethics, equity, right? Ethics. Equity is when, this principle is when every person is totally different from each other. But the idea is that they have the same opportunities. This is a rule. The real is totally different, but this is the rule, right? Okay, equity, inclusion, yes. This word is very touched in this year, the previous year. Inclusion, not right? Democracy, right? Exactly. When you say inclusion, is that we can include all the students, right? If they have some problems, right? But they can include inclusion. They have the same opportunities, quality, right? Quality. Exactly, Leili. Democracy, interculturality. You can notice in our curriculum at Aprende en Casa methodology use interculturality because in the lessons, in the learning experiences show some aspects from the jungle, from the land, from the coast. So this is interculturality that shows several cultures through the lessons, right? Okay, and environmental awareness, creativity, and innovation, right? And this is that 8 principles. It's important that we can remember, right? To remember these 8 principles because they mention in our curriculum, right? Okay, this part is only a reminder for you. The 8 principles, remember that. Okay, now let's go. Okay, here you have, as a reminder, the 8 principles, right? Let's practice, okay? Let's practice. Okay, let's practice, teachers. Let's go through the activities for the exam. Remember, it's important when you have a casuistic, por ejemplo, la metodología que utilizan para los exámenes es la metodología de casos. Esa es la metodología que ellos utilizan. Metodología de casos. ¿Ok? Es importante, profesores, que puedan leer bien la premisa. ¿Qué es lo que les piden? En algunos casos van a decir the most appropriate, or the least appropriate. You have to read careful. It's important that you can read carefully the premise, what is asking to you to do, right? So it's important to read carefully the options. When it's asking the most appropriate, it's very important that you can select a meaningful activity. What is meaningful? Meaningful activity. What is a meaningful activity? Tienen que seleccionar siempre la opción más significativa. ¿Qué significa significativo? Algo que esté relacionado al contexto del estudiante, algo que esté relacionado, que esté muy cercano al estudiante. Por ejemplo, si están hablando de lugares, vecindarios, entonces tengo que seleccionar la actividad que para el estudiante es más cercano. De repente que el estudiante cree su propio mapa de su vecindario. Entonces, esa sería la más significativa. Tengo que siempre seleccionar, cuando te piden la más apropiada, es seleccionar la opción más significativa, la que está más cercana al estudiante, al contexto. Entonces, al contexto del estudiante. Por ejemplo, si están hablando de rutinas, a ver, si estamos hablando, el tema es rutinas, y la opción A dice, el estudiante crea la rutina de un artista famoso. B, el estudiante crea un picture dictionary de sus propias rutinas. Entonces, ¿cuál sería más significativo? La B, porque es algo relacionado a él mismo, es algo propio, es algo relacionado a su contexto. Entonces, seleccionar siempre una actividad que sea significativa. Recuerden, significativa. ¿Ok? Centrada en el alumno. Centrada en el alumno, como el principio, ¿no? Como la Ley General de Educación dice que está todo centrado en el estudiante. ¿Ok? Otra recomendación para seleccionar la correcta tengo que, hay algunas partes que vamos a tener que inferir, o sea, inferir es deducir, cuál sería la opción más apropiada. Ok, entonces vamos a comenzar. A ver, let's start. Dice, Franco's second graders have been practicing describing family relationships. He shows the students a picture of a family tree and tells them to describe the family relationships orally using possessive nouns. The students practice in pairs, and then the teacher calls some volunteers. During the practice, one student comes up with the following example. Omar is Lisa's father. Aware of the situation, Franco wants to use an appropriate technique to correct the student's mistake on the spot. Given Franco's goal, which of the following actions is most appropriate? Entonces, y un error que también se comete mucho en los exámenes, que a veces yo marco la opción que yo hago. Como profesor, la que yo siempre hago. No, tú tienes que marcar la opción que está de acuerdo a la currícula. ¿Qué es lo que se está usando en la currícula actual? Estamos usando, por ejemplo, la metodología basada en contenidos, la metodología basada en proyectos, ¿sí? La metodología basada en tareas, la metacognición. ¿Qué es la metacognición? Es cuando el estudiante reflexiona cuánto ha aprendido al final de la sesión. Entonces, esa es la idea, ¿ok? A veces pueden ustedes elegir lo que ustedes hacen en su práctica, pero no es eso, sino es elegir lo que la currícula está usando en la actualidad. Ok, dice, aware of the situation, Franco wants to use an appropriate technique to correct the student's mistake on the spot. Given Franco's goal, which of the following actions is most appropriate? Okay, indicate a mistake by saying that's not quite right, then ask another student to say the correct form. Re-echo the student's sentence, emphasizing the mistake to draw the learner's attention to it. Then ask the student to say the sentence again. C, ignore the student's mistake and let him finish. Then, when all the students finish participating, remind them to use the apostrophe to indicate possession. Okay, which is the most appropriate way? This is a feedback, right? This is a feedback. What is the most appropriate way to give a feedback? A, B, or C? A, B, or C. Any volunteers? A ver, give me your ideas. A, B, or C? Give me your ideas. Which option do you select in this question? Any ideas? Okay, any ideas? Which is your option? Lely. Lely. Which is your option? A, B, or C? Remember, it's important to select a meaningful, significant option. Okay, let's check because it's important to cover. Let me. Okay, the correct one. Okay, Plinio. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, Plinio. It's the first class. Here the idea is Franco wants to correct. Here, the student says, Homer is Lisa's father. Entonces, acá están utilizando los possessive nouns. Y un estudiante se ha equivocado, ¿no? Ha dicho, Homer is Lisa's father. No ha utilizado los possessives del apóstrofe para indicar posesión. Ha dicho mal algo. Ha dicho una mala participación. Entonces, dice, percatándose de la situación, Franco desea utilizar una forma apropiada para corregir a los estudiantes en el punto de la equivocación. ¿Cuál sería la más apropiada? ¿Por qué se selecciona la B? Porque esta es de acuerdo, esta opción es una de las opciones de los exámenes. Dice que enfatizar el error del estudiante para captar toda la atención, ¿no? Y luego le pide que el estudiante pueda decirlo de nuevamente. O sea, es una oportunidad. Cuando un estudiante se equivoca, es una oportunidad para hacer énfasis en el error que tiene y dar una retroalimentación. O sea, es una oportunidad. No podemos dejarle pasar. No podemos ignorar. O sea, ignorar no es una retroalimentación. ¿Cómo damos una buena retroalimentación? Entonces podemos, a través de preguntas, a través de buenos ejemplos, enfatizando, como acá dice, captando la atención. Entonces, una de las formas, la mejor forma sería esa, la B, ¿no? Echo the student sentence, emphasizing the mistake. Acá hace énfasis en el error, pero como que utiliza ese error para enfatizar, ¿no? En toda la clase y captar la atención de todo. ¿Sí? En la A decía, indicate a mistake saying that's not quite right. Entonces no le puede, o sea, no, una buena retroalimentación no es decir, está mal, y pedirle a otro que diga lo que está correcto. Esa no es una buena retroalimentación. Vamos a hablar también de retroalimentación más adelante. Ignorar, tampoco la C dice, ignore the student's mistake and let him finish. Ignorar no es, o sea, no es parte de una retroalimentación adecuada. Then, when all the students finish participating, remind them the use of the apostrophe to indicate possession. But ignore is not part of a good feedback. Okay? So the correct one is echo the student's sentence, emphasizing the mistake. It's okay, students, teachers, colleagues. Is it okay? Do you understand? Okay, so ignore. When you have this word ignore, is not appropriate. To only say that's not correct, that's not quite right, is not a correct, but because here in this casuistic, it's talking about feedback. Esta casuística es como dar una retroalimentación, prácticamente, en otras palabras. Lisa's father, exactly. 52. Okay. Here we have language function. The language function, what is the language function? Here, 52, Martin wants to help his students improve their speaking skills. Before starting a speaking practice, he provides them with the following expressions. I wouldn't be surprised if, knowing him, I bet, considering the expressions provided, which is the language function that Martin wants his students to practice. Okay? Okay, what is the language function? Is the intention of the speaker. Is the speaker's intention. When you are talking, when you are expressing your ideas, they have functions, right? Can be, for example, making guesses, making complaints, making generalizations, considering the expressions provided. Acá están las expresiones. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing him, which is the language function that Martin wants his students to practice. Hay otras funciones, making opinions, making comparisons, comparaciones, dando opiniones. O sea, cuando hablan de función del idioma es la intención del hablante. Entonces, cuando un profesor quiere trabajar language function, quiere trabajar el speaking, cierto que le damos frases, ¿cierto? Como que frases de ayuda al estudiante. Ok. De acuerdo a esas frases tienen una función. ¿Cuáles serían? Making guesses, complaints. A ver, let there be, making complaints. A ver, let me check. Making guesses, ok, making guesses, ok, hacer como que adivinanzas, adivinar, ¿no? Making guesses, guess es adivinar, guess, hacer adivinanzas. I wouldn't be surprised if, complaints, ¿qué significa complaints, profesores? A ver, complaints, hacer quejas, complaints vienen a hacer quejas, pero acá no era quejas, sino era como que están haciendo una predicción, ¿no? Knowing him, he'll be taking a vacation during the next month, making guesses, haciendo adivinanzas. Acá no era quejas, ¿ok? Making complaints or making generalizations, okay? The next. Our students, teachers, which language functions do you remember? A ver, ustedes ya han llevado este curso, creo que antes. Which language functions do you remember? Esta es una clase de la siguiente clase, o sea, mañana vamos a ver language functions. Which language functions do you remember? Which language functions, for example, can be making guesses, complaints, generalizations, making opinions, making comparisons, making opinions, right? Okay. Which language functions do you remember, teachers? Any other language functions? Making comparisons. Okay. Well, tomorrow I'm going to explain more about language functions. Let's go to the next activity, casuistic. Acá dice meaningful activity, de frente, ¿no? Ay, perdón, lo puse. Ok, a ver. Here say, Freddy's students have been practicing the topic places in that community. In this context, he wants his students to develop their writing skills. Writing skills through a meaningful activity. Which of the following activities is more appropriate to achieve the teacher's purpose? Cuando tengo una casuística, tengo que ver cuál es el propósito. ¿Cuál es el propósito de la casuística? Acá el profesor quiere desarrollar una actividad escrita a través de una actividad significativa, o sea, un writing a través de una actividad significativa. Ese es el propósito. Y acá dice, which of the following activities is more appropriate? ¿Cuál es la más apropiada? Que sea un writing con este topic. Entonces tengo que ver básicamente what is the topic? What is the topic of the casuistic topic, and the purpose. Ok, tengo que saber cuál es el propósito de la casuística, qué es lo que ellos me piden. Ok, tell me, letter A, option A, the students read a magazine about tourist places in town. Using this information, they write a paragraph about the most popular tourist spots in town. B, the students watch a video about public places in the city. They identify the places and then in their notebooks, they write a short paragraph describing those places. C, the students draw a map of their neighborhood displaying the two places they like the most. Next, they write a paragraph giving directions to go from their home to those places. When I say meaningful is the most significant. Meaningful, it's an activity that is very close. It's very close to your students' context. It's close to your students' real life, real routine. This is a meaningful when the activity is close to your students' real life. Which is the correct? Lily says C. Okay, which is Lily says option C. Miss Lily, right? Lily, why do you consider option C? Can you turn on your microphone, please? Why do you consider option C, Miss Lily? Is the correct, is the correct one. Let me a second, I'm going to. Is the correct? It's the correct one. Okay, exactly, it's the correct one. Why do you select Miss option C? Why? Why not option A or B? Any ideas? Here in this activity, it's asking for a meaningful activity, right? Meaningful. Están pidiendo que hagan un writing ¿ok? A través de una actividad significativa. Entonces acá dice, why not option A? Option A is the students read a magazine about tourist places in town, in general, right? Write a paragraph. Write a paragraph, it's to ask your students to write a paragraph. It's meaningful. It's meaningful, right? But it's not the best activity. Okay, option B says the students watch a video about public places in the city. They write a short paragraph. So this activity B is very general because they write about public places in the city. So it's very general. It's not relevant. Option C, the students draw a map of their neighborhoods, displaying the two places they like the most. So in option C is the activity that is most close to your students' real life. La C es la actividad que está más cercana al estudiante, porque dice que el estudiante va a dibujar un mapa de su vecindario. Ahí va a mostrar los dos lugares que a ellos les gustan más. Entonces la C es la más significativa porque es la más real. Es la que más está cercana a la vida real del estudiante. Y eso es meaningful. Cuando te piden meaningful activity, significa una actividad que esté cercana a la vida real del estudiante. Y la C es la que más se acerca. Luego ellos van a escribir un párrafo dando indicaciones de cómo llegar desde sus casas a esos lugares. Entonces, mira, si comparas con la A y la B, en la A y la B les piden párrafos. Pero acá van a hacer un párrafo, sí, pero dando las indicaciones para llegar desde sus casas a esos lugares. Entonces, la C es la actividad más cercana, más contextualizada, más cercana a la vida real del estudiante. Rosa says, hey, write a paragraph giving directions to go from their home. Yes, because they are asking to give directions from their home, right? Let's go. 54. 54 says, the teacher wants her fourth graders to develop their oral skills through the topic life experiences. She has thought of 3 strategies to achieve her purpose. Which of the following strategies she has thought of is more meaningful for her students? Meaningful, right? Close to your students' real life. Okay. Remember, what is the topic here, teachers? What is the topic? What is the topic? Life experiences. So the purpose to develop oral skills, the topic life experiences. And here is asking the more meaningful for her students. Which is the more meaningful? Our letter A. The teacher has the students answer a questionnaire about life experiences. She asks them to exchange it with a classmate and read the classmate's answers for some minutes. Then the teacher calls on some volunteers to report some of their classmate answers aloud. B, the teacher tells the students to use the question, have you ever, to interview their classmates. She tells the students to ask follow-up questions to get details about their peers' experiences. Finally, the teacher calls on volunteers to report their findings to the class. C, the teacher puts the students in groups and gives them biographic information about famous singers. She tells the students to read the information and decide which singer has had the most interesting experiences. Finally, the students report the singer's experiences to the class. Okay, teachers. Which is the most meaningful activity? Remember, is the topic life experiences, but remember the purpose is to develop oral. It's oral skills. También recuerden que cuando me están poniendo acá una de las habilidades del idioma, como oral, entonces tengo que elegir la actividad que tiene si me dicen la más significativa, tengo que seleccionar. De repente me dices, Miss, hay dos que están cerca, pero tienes que seleccionar la que tiene mayor demanda cognitiva. ¿Cuál de las dos tiene mayor demanda? O sea, ¿cuál de las dos va a desarrollar mayor habilidades orales? De repente, Miss, las dos son orales. Sí, pero ¿cuál es la que más va a demandar? O sea, y la que más va a demandar es la que en la cual el alumno va a crear sus propias preguntas. ¿Ok? Entonces, es muy importante eso. Ok, give me. Cuando eso pasa cuando seleccionamos, hay dos respuestas que son parecidas, ¿no? Entonces, cuando hay dos respuestas que son probables, tienes que seleccionar la respuesta que tiene mayor demanda cognitiva, o sea, en la cual el alumno se va a esforzar más, va a crear algo, ok, no solamente va a leer, sino va a crear algo. Ok, Enrique says B, Sheila says B. Any other ideas? Okay, Enrique, why do you select option B? Why do you select option B? B is the correct. Why do you select option B? Can you give me your answer probably on the chat if you want? Turn on your microphone. Okay. Yeah, B is the most meaningful. Remember, here in this casuistic is asking about oral skills. Oral skills, the topic life experiences. So option B are using these questions. Have you ever? When you use have you ever is when you're asking about experiences. Have you ever visited Cusco? Have you ever eaten paella? Have you ever traveled abroad to other countries? Have you ever gone to the gym? Have you ever practiced karate? Experiences. So this structure, have you ever, is very communicative, very accurate to develop oral skills, because the students can ask, in activity B, the students are creating in oral form their own questions, right? And they are exchanging information. In option A, the teacher is giving the students a questionnaire. So the students, they are not creating their own questions. They have a questionnaire about experiences. So they are exchanging information in oral form, yes, but through a questionnaire. Option B, the students are creating their own questions. Okay, right? And for this reason, it's option B. Why not option C? Because it's the students are giving, they are talking about singers, famous singers. Yes, it's a good activity. Probably, yes, it's a good activity, but it's about other people. It's not personal. And here, that direction is meaningful, more meaningful activity. Meaningful, it's a real activity. It's an activity related to myself, to my neighborhood, to my environment, to my community, to my country, to my own problems, right? This is meaningful. For this reason is option B. Rosa says B is more meaningful because the students interview their classmate and give an oral report. Yeah, sure. Questions, teachers? Do you have questions? 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 No? Okay, let's go to the next one. 55. 55. Marisa's questions, teachers, do you have questions? Do you understand? Or maybe you have some questions about the previous activity? No? Okay, let's continue. Marisa's students are going to listen to the audio of a fable, de una fábula, un audio de una fábula. Fábula, no? She wants to assess her students' comprehension of the fable. Given the teacher's goal, which of the following activities is not appropriate? ¿Qué dice aquí? Dice, los estudiantes de Marisa van a escuchar el audio de una fábula. Ella desea evaluar la comprensión de la fábula de sus estudiantes. Evaluar, assess, es la evaluación. De acuerdo al objetivo de la profesora, ¿cuál de las siguientes actividades no es la apropiada? O sea, ella quiere evaluar si comprendieron la fábula o no. Okay. A, the teacher plays the audio of the fable once and tells the students to listen to it. Then she writes some questions about it on the board and plays the audio again. This time, the students answer the question. B, the teacher plays the audio of the fable a couple of times and the students listen to it carefully. Then she gives the students a word search puzzle. She tells them to find the words they remember from the audio. C, the teacher plays the audio of the fable and tells the students to listen to it. Then she gives the students a fill-in-the-blank worksheet with excerpts from the fable. She tells them to fill in the missing information while she plays the audio again. Okay. Here says, which of the following activity is not appropriate? A, B, or C. Acá dice cuáles no es la apropiada, o sea, no te dicen cuál es la más apropiada, ¿no? Sino dicen cuál de estas no es. Which is Which activity is not the appropriate, teachers? Give me your answers. Okay. Any ideas? Any ideas? ¿Cuál es la? Hay dos que sí son, en esta actividad hay dos que son medianamente apropiadas, ¿no? Una que es medianamente apropiada, una que es muy apropiada y una que no es apropiada definitivamente. ¿Ok? B, a ver, 6, a ver, let's read. Enrique says B, Plinio says A, B, which is not the most appropriate. Okay. The answer is B. Entonces acá quieren hacer el profesor quiere evaluar si han comprendido la fábula o no. La pregunta era, ¿cuál de las siguientes actividades no es apropiada? Acá, o sea, la que no. Por ejemplo, acá dice, the teacher plays the audio of the fable once and tells the students to listen to it. Then she writes some questions about it on the board and plays the audio again. This time the students answer the question. Ok, esta, por ejemplo, es medianamente apropiada, ¿no? Porque el profesor pone el audio una sola vez, que lo escuchen, luego escribe algunas preguntas, y sí, es medianamente apropiada porque sí, el profesor escribe algunas preguntas, y con las preguntas verifica la comprensión. Sí, es apropiada. ¿Ok? En la B, ¿por qué no es apropiada? ¿No? Porque acá dice, the teacher plays the audio of the fable a couple of times, and the students listen to it carefully. Then she gives the students a word search, como que da, ¿no? Para que escriban un pupiletras, algo para que busquen las palabras. She tells the students to find the words they remember, o sea, para que le da para que busquen las palabras, ¿cierto? Y entonces, ¿qué tiene? Acá solamente va a verificar un vocabulario, pero no tiene nada que ver porque acá el objetivo era evaluar la comprensión. O sea, la comprensión de la fábula es cuál es la idea principal, la idea secundaria, ¿no? ¿De qué se habla? ¿Cuál es el tema? Entonces, la A con las preguntas puede verificar comprensión. En la C también, the teacher plays the audio of the fable and tells the students to listen. Then she gives the students to fill in the blank worksheet with excerpts from the fable. Entonces acá como que les da como que un worksheet y los estudiantes completan, ¿no? Algunas ideas del audio. Entonces acá en la C también puede verificar comprensión. Pero en la B no, porque solamente en la B el estudiante va a ver vocabulario nada más. Entonces la menos apropiada es la B. Es la más baja de todas. Ok, option B. Ok, entonces por eso la B. Ok, acá tenemos 56. Rosa's fifth graders have been working on comparison. Now they will write on the pros and cons of attending a public or a private university. Roxana has designed the following sequence, which will be developed in 2 sessions. Right? A ver. Esta sesión es para 2 clases, dice. Los pros y los contras de asistir a una universidad pública o privada. Esta es una sesión que va a ser en 2 sesiones, una clase en 2 sesiones, para trabajar comparaciones. Vamos a ver, esta es la sesión. The teacher pairs up the students and tells them to discuss the following questions. Would you like to attend a public or a private university? Why? The students discuss the questions for some minutes. Then, some volunteers share their ideas with the whole class. Next, the teacher tells the students they will write a paragraph about the pros and the cons of either public or private universities. Next, the teacher gives the students some time to organize their ideas. She reminds them to keep in mind the audience and the intention of the paragraph. Then the students write the first versions of their paragraph. She tells them to try to make their work understandable, but not to worry at this point about making grammar or spelling mistakes. Next, the teacher asks the students to exchange their paragraph. Look for misspelled words in their classmates' writing and circle them. Finally, they return each other paragraphs and write a final version. Which writing skill has not been promoted adequately in the sequence above? Dice, ¿cuál de las habilidades de escritura no está siendo promovido adecuadamente en esta secuencia arriba? Cuando hablamos de writing, la escritura, hay también hay didácticas, hay enfoques para la escritura. Uno de los enfoques más conocidos es por ejemplo, planning, drafting, revising, and editing. Hay o sea, para el writing, para trabajar el writing con nuestros estudiantes hay enfoques, ¿cierto? Nuestro currículum enfoca, hay 2 enfoques, ¿no? Uno por producto y ese enfoque que es por proceso. Son 2 tipos de enfoques, uno por producto y otro por proceso. El que más se utiliza es por proceso. Cuando hablo de proceso, dentro de ese proceso está el planning. Eso también lo vamos a ver, planning, el drafting, el que está aquí, drafting, revising, editing, ¿ok? Entonces, cuando hablamos del enfoque por proceso, a la hora de escribir, hay cuatro steps, ¿no? El planning. Planning is the organization of the ideas. Drafting, when you collect your ideas from the classmates, you search information. Revising, when your teacher or your peers, your classmates, revise your work, give a feedback. And editing. Y la última es la edición, cuando tú a través del feedback que te han dado, tú lo vuelves a editar y consolidas su trabajo. Esto es el process, este enfoque se llama process approach. El enfoque por proceso. Process approach. A ver, eso también lo vamos a ver más detenimiento más adelante. Pero ¿cuál de las habilidades para escribir no ha sido promovido adecuadamente? Planning, el drafting, el borrador, revising. A ver, please, give me your ideas, please. Any ideas? Okay. Plinio says revising. Revising. Okay. Revising. Bien. Yes, the correct one. Revising, exactly, revising. La revisión no fue promovido correctamente. Como vemos, el profesor hace una buena planificación. Perdón. El profesor hace una buena planificación, ¿no? Hace preguntas para saber los saberes previos, hace una discusión, los pros, los contras, o sea, hay una planificación correcta. Después les da tiempo, acá dice, the teacher gives the students some time to organize their ideas. Les da tiempo para que hagan su drafting, su primer borrador. O sea, si hay planning, si hay drafting. Pero, ¿qué es lo que no se desarrolló? No se promovió adecuadamente. O sea, sí se desarrolló, pero no fue muy adecuado. En la revisión, solamente hace que los estudiantes intercambien sus párrafos, ¿no? Que vean por algunos errores y que los encierren en un círculo, ¿no? O sea, pero no hay un feedback, ¿no? O sea, no hay una revisión, porque ni siquiera el estudiante no menciona que hace un feedback o hace una corrección, no hay una corrección del profesor. Entonces, no, se ha desarrollado el revising, sí, pero no ha sido promovido correctamente. O sea, de los tres es el menos promovido adecuadamente. Por eso la C, revise. No he mencionado el otro proceso que era editing. ¿Ok? Revising. The next. A ver. Acá también estamos viendo los approach, vienen a ser los enfoques. Vamos a ver también los enfoques para enseñar grammar. Entonces, acá están los tres enfoques. Bien. Vamos a ver, dice, read the following teaching sequence and answer questions 57 and 58. Brenda's fourth graders have been talking about health problems during the past few sessions. Given that context, she wants them to practice giving advice and suggestions. She has planned the following sequence. The teacher pairs up the students and gives each one a role. Student A is the doctor and student B is the patient. Student B has to describe the symptoms of a health problem he is experiencing, such as stomachache, headache, a cough, etc. And student A has to give him advice to get better. The students work for some minutes and then the teacher calls on volunteers to present the conversation. Finally, the students reflect on the language related to advice and suggestions used during the activity, and the teacher elicits other situations in which they can use that language. Bien, profesores, aquí vemos que hay un tema, ¿no? Health problems, problemas de salud. ¿Sí? El profesor quiere platicar dice que den recomendaciones y sugerencias. Planea esta secuencia. O sea, ese es el tema, health problems. Quiere que practiquen giving advice and suggestions, ¿sí? Pero acá la pregunta es, ¿hay una secuencia? Mejor dicho, esta es una conversación, ¿cierto? Entonces, which approach to teaching grammar is Brenda trying to promote? Dice, ¿qué enfoque para enseñar gramática Brenda está tratando de promover? Hay tres enfoques, estas opciones A, B y C son los tres enfoques para enseñar gramática. El enfoque inductivo, deductivo y funcional. ¿Sí? Son los 3 enfoques principales para enseñar grammar. ¿Ok? Ay, perdón. Entonces, ¿cuál sería el enfoque que está utilizando? Acá vemos que es una conversación. Les asigna roles. You are the doctor. You are the patient. Your experience is this, that. So it's a conversation. ¿Cuál es la diferencia en el enfoque inductivo, deductivo, funcional? Entonces, el inductivo es cuando tú directamente enseñas la regla gramatical. ¿Ok? Enseñas directamente la regla gramatical. Entonces, la B, el deductivo, viene de deducir, ¿no? Deductivo, el enfoque deductivo es cuando tú poco a poco, primero enseñas un ejemplo. Por ejemplo, si estás enseñando past tense, entonces das un ejemplo de, no en el inductivo, a ver, si estamos enseñando pasado, en el inductivo, ¿cómo sería mi clase? Voy a enseñar regular verbs, irregular verbs. Cuando le agrego ed, cuando los verbos cambian. Entonces, de frente me voy a la gramática, ese es el inductivo. Deductivo, el deductivo es cuando yo poco a poco, de repente doy una oración, doy algunas experiencias, las actividades que hice el año pasado, algunas oraciones. Poco a poco voy deduciendo, ¿sí? Voy poniendo ahí la gramática. El enfoque funcional es el mejor enfoque de los 3, porque yo enseño la gramática a través de conversaciones, de actividades cotidianas, reales. Funcional. Es algo funcional, algo que yo hago siempre. Entonces, el profesor ha hecho prácticamente un role play. Entonces, una conversación. Está utilizando el enfoque funcional, porque está utilizando una conversación. ¿Ok? ¿Ok? Ok. Functional approach. Okay, teachers. We stopped here. Do you have final questions? Let's continue tomorrow night at 7, from 7 to 9. Do you have final questions, teachers? Final questions about it? Final questions? Let me a second. Okay, we stop here. Let's continue. We are. Okay, we are here. Okay, vamos a ver. 1 second. Any questions? Do you have any questions about this class, teachers? Today we talk about methodologies, principles of Peruvian education, a little bit about language function, some approaches. Do you have final questions? Final questions, teachers? Okay, well, we stop here. Thank you for joining this class. We are in contact. If you have, well, I'm going to share my email. If you have any questions about this class, maybe if you have extra information about this class, you can write me. Remember, we are in contact with you by email. This is my email, @gmail.com. If you have any questions about it or any comments, you can write me, right? Well, we are in contact, teachers. See you tomorrow night. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.